have Chauntell here.
Hello.
Chauntell, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me here, Rachel, to talk about some important stuff. It's always so funny when people ask me to share about myself because I never really know exactly where to begin. Uh, but we're here talking about some work-related things, so I guess I'll stick to that side of stuff for me. Yeah, so my background is in social work and sociology. I studied those in university, and I also did some child and youth work in college. And so I worked with children for quite a while. Actually, since I was in high school, I've been worked with kids, and I've lately been working more so with adults. Um, but I spent 6 years in my last job working for something called the LEAF program. So it was an anti-violence program for children. Um, but I had left that in the last couple of years to kind of branch off and do my own thing. Being someone that is creative, I really love opportunities to create my own way of doing things, my own programs. And I just found that with where I was working, I was kind of limited in what I was able to do, although I learned a lot of really great skills. So I'm thankful for that opportunity. But now I essentially have branded what I do as Earth in Sky, which is kind of a great way of explaining many things, I guess. But rather than using my name for what I do, some people use their name as their business. I've decided to call it Earth in Sky, so that way it kind of encompasses everything. So I run group offerings to help people with mindfulness. That can be like art, getting together, having group conversations, one-on-one support. So it's I've recently called it soul expansion counseling. I used to call it spiritual counseling, but I felt that was kind of giving it the wrong name. So soul expansion. So that way it can kind of look like, again, allows it to be more than what it was. I create online programs. I'm in the process of creating another program right now for soulpreneurs. What I created last year was a program called Quest to Confidence. So that was a 6-month confidence program that you can do mostly online or with my support as well. That kind of had this like fun fantasy theme to it to connect with that inner child. And what else? I have a podcast called the Sacred Grind, which is kind of just a soul-led thing that I felt called to do, which has turned into many things that I didn't think it was going to be. But creating some merch too, which is a new thing. Which again, like the universe kind of is just like, here, you're gonna do this now. So yeah, so I have a bunch of things I work on, but essentially I'm really interested in soulpreneurship, which is why I think I'm drawn to doing so many different things, so that when I meet with people, I have my own experience with knowing how to do some of these things. Helping people to do work that they feel passionate about, that they feel excited to get up in the morning and do, because I know how it feels to be on the other side and feel like, I just don't want to get up and go and do this work because it wasn't really in alignment. So that's kind of a brief overview of all the things that I do.
Yeah. You got lots going on then.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And so when you decided to kind of branch off and do your own thing, you kind of touched on it a little bit. But what motivated you to do that? So that was, I think, from our own conversations that we've had, I know that that's something that you have been thinking about for a while.
Yeah. I often would think about how every time I go away on a vacation, I'd think, I need to quit my job. and then I'd go back and kind of just get back into things, because the work I was doing, I enjoyed in a lot of ways. I liked the clients I was working with. There was some room for creativity. But there was just something that felt off. Like I just kind of kept getting that feeling that was like, you're supposed to be doing something else. And then I'd be like, yeah, but that seems like a lot of work, or I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. So but eventually the calling, because I was ignoring it, it started to manifest into some anxiety and depression symptoms, which is kind of a common thing that happens for me when I'm really not listening to that message. So I started really having a hard time with like getting into work. Like it would just feel like such a drag to even get there. I started to feel like anxious about clients coming in, which wasn't the usual for me. Like I usually was able to kind of be like, okay, we're gonna get it together and have a good attitude. And it just got to the point where I wasn't able to really do that anymore. And so yeah. And I actually started taking medication because I thought, okay, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the problem. And I'll just fix that and I'll be able to keep going. And that kind of helped for a little bit, but still there was that lingering feeling that something was just off. And so, sorry, my cat keeps meowing, so I apologize for that. I'm just gonna give her a little pet, then maybe that will help her. Yeah. So I I started to kind of daydream about, okay, so if this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, what is it? And my background being in social work, I kind of started looking for other social work jobs in my field, and just wasn't seeing anything that felt like, yeah, like I want to do that.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, well that's, what am I supposed to do? I went to school for this. I don't want to do any of those jobs. And so then, again, being a creative person, I kind of just started thinking about, well, okay, well, what would be that ideal dream job? And I worked with some coaches and different people to kind of help me get some clarity around that, along with my own like journaling. Journaling's been really helpful for me. And I started kind of planning before even leaving the job about what that would look like, which is totally different in some ways than it is now. And started doing like essentially what was like prayer, or like an ask to the universe for some help. And I had been planning on leaving the job. So I quit my job, this last job at the beginning of, I think it was 2018, January or February. But I was planning on leaving in November. So this was like way earlier than I anticipated, but there were some changes that happened that kind of gave me that sign that I was like, if I stay here, my mental state is going to really like go down even further. So I was like, okay, well, that's that message. I guess I gotta go. Which in some ways felt easy, in other ways felt really scary. But I'm really glad now that I listened to that message, because I was able to get off that medication eventually. And I mean, that's a whole long story in itself, but the message was there. And I didn't listen for a couple of years, but then eventually the push came. So.
No, for sure. I think a lot of people fall into that idea that a company's values and structure overall may not align with their own values as a person. And I think a lot of corporate environments maybe don't they don't really do a lot for your spiritual side.
Yeah, I was actually for a while was the only person on the health and wellness team. So I was the health and wellness team, trying to like keep everyone feeling uplifted. Meanwhile, I was struggling myself. And the values of the organization where I worked seemed great, but when it came to it being implemented, it wasn't. There was something missing. And I spent a lot of time trying to understand that, and try to make changes while I was within it, but it just felt like a losing battle. And I was alone a lot in this last job too. That was part of the challenge for me, is I didn't really have a team or people to debrief with, and just kind of felt, I felt quite literally alone. Which at first was like, oh, this is great, I have my own office, and that's something that I thought I really wanted. But over time it just became like it felt like no one really cared if I was there or not, except for my clients.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you speak to a little bit of when you started to branch out on your own? Um, I know for you, the first little while when you branched out, it was a little bit of a challenge for you, but
Mm-hmm.
as you've kind of grown your brand and your company and what you offer, how has that process looked for you? Like it, I think we've spoken a little bit to some of the personal stuff that came up for you, but as you've been able to spend some time with
Mm.
yourself, you've been able to um, arrive to this really amazing place, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, well, yeah. So after, like I said, I left more abruptly than I anticipated. So I kind of was thinking I would have a plan, and then I just kind of step into this thing I created, but um, it didn't work out that way, which is fine. It worked out the way it needed to. So I think it was about a year kind of off, essentially, from working like out in the world. Was doing some work at home and picked up some odd jobs just to make money so that I could continue exploring what it is I wanted to do. Having that time to myself gave me an opportunity to really work on some things that I hadn't had the time to explore before, because I was always working and in school, um, like either one or the other or both. And even though like I always took time for some self-care and self-exploration, there just wasn't really enough time to allow myself to become unraveled, essentially, because it was like, there's stuff to get done. So having that time off, I was able to face a lot more shadow stuff. So things that were previously just kind of tucked away and buried, allowing myself to feel some sadness and things that I just, yeah, like didn't have time for previously. So there was that on the emotional side. And I worked with people to help me through that process as well. And I also started taking like courses and things that interested me, whether it be about like kind of spiritual development type stuff or business development. So I felt like for that year, I was really in learning mode, just trying to like learn everything I could, whether it be about myself or about the stuff I wanted to do. So, and that, as I learned more, and as you learn more from other people, it kind of shows you parts of yourself so that you can kind of see where it is that you want to take yourself, right? And some unlearning too from the worlds I came from, which were kind of structured and this is how it is. I had to kind of just like let all that go and be like, okay, well, but who am I? What do I want to bring into the world? Which can be challenging because it's a lot seemingly, well, I'm going to say easier, but that's kind of relative. But if you're following a path that's been set out before you, where it's like you do this, this, and this, and you arrive at this destination, then you can just do that, right? You can be like, okay, I'm going to go to school for this, and then I'll get this job, and then they'll tell me what to do, and I'm good to go. But I don't really work that way very well. So, and I know a lot of other people in my life that are like this too, where it's like they're creating something that's kind of new. And so that takes time. And there's no one there to really say like, yeah, that's how this goes. Like it's a lot of trusting your own intuition and asking your wisdom, what's meant to come through next. So that year after I left that job was an opportunity for me to rediscover that part of myself, that was kind of like tuned down for a while. And so, yeah, like I would kind of trust that intuition, which is kind of this mysterious part of being a human. And then it would lead me towards what I needed next, like practical things. And so be like, okay, I found this really cool online program that's going to teach me about, building a website a little bit better or whatever. And that's what I've been trying to help people learn how to do, is to tune into that part of themselves, because I wasn't really ever taught how to do that before. I think I was taught how not to do that.
For sure. No, there's definitely, especially when you like work in a traditional work environment. There's not a lot that is out there for people that, you know, that don't function very well within the box or within the walls of a company.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
in
Yeah. There can be a lot of fear in organizations, I think, because they're accountable. The people in that workplace are accountable to someone else, and they're accountable to someone else, and they have to kind of prove, they, literally prove, like, that we're doing this work and it's the right kind of work. And so there's all these parameters that are in place that um, staff often don't get the opportunity to be creative or go outside of that, because it's like, yeah, because of this fear that's often built into these hierarchical environments. um, and some people work really well in a structured environment where it's like, just tell me what to do and I'll show up and do it, which is great and fine. But I think for people that are on the creative side, that have a vision for something new and something different, and they see the gaps in the programs and they are innovative, like, and if they're not given those opportunities within the workplace, that's where you can start to feel quite burnt out and undervalued, like you're not really using the full range of your skill set, because being a creative person, an innovator, that's part of who some of these people are. Yeah, and so like, I did some research around why burnout happens in the workplace, and before I entered into the real working world. This is when I was in university, and I saw it all playing out within this organization. Like, I was like, wow, yeah, like people aren't getting the opportunity to make decisions. It's just like, this is what you're going to do, and we've decided for you. So um, I think that's really hard for some people.
Absolutely. So I think for somebody that is designing a new workplace, um, or a workplace for other people to work within, it sounds to me like the opportunity to express yourself and express your full range of skill sets. That sounds like something that is important.
Yeah, yeah. I think that not even just like think. I guess, like, from what I've observed, and from what I've known from people, that creative, and create creative is kind of a broad word that can look like a lot of things, but the opportunity to be creative is really important to most humans in some way. And like, the clients I work with now, so I do counseling now, one-on-one, and I find the people that I work with that don't have a creative outlet of some kind, um, whether it be at work or not, but we spend most of our time at work, so like, that's it's important to consider that as part of who we are. Um, if they don't have that creative piece, they tend to feel this experience of I don't know who I am, or I feel like I've lost myself. And people that have kind of a hobby, or either they have a hobby on the side or their work is a part of what they love doing, I don't hear people saying that same kind of thing of like, who am I? So yeah, creative expression of some kind is really important, I think, for our mental wellness.
Absolutely, I agree. Um, and so as you've kind of continued on, so a lot of my personal interest in both my personal life and my professional life kind of goes around the idea of creating sustainable habits that help me to feel successful. And I think I see that in other people too, having certain habits, whether they are sitting down on a Sunday and writing out your week, going to the gym, taking time to meditate. All of those habits, I think, are super important to feeling overall well and grounded and feeling successful.
Hmm.
Do you have any habits that you feel help you to feel successful and grounded?
Yeah, so it's funny because I have to be honest, I lack consistency with my habits, especially especially when it like say right now it's winter and it's when I really need to be consistent with my habits, and I do struggle. So, but that's part of why I feel like I'm good at the work I do. I understand how it feels to be on the other side. Like it's not necessarily easy for me to look after myself to the best of my, my ability. So I get the struggle for that. But there have been many times in my life where I've had habits or not, and that have been supportive. Um, so there's certain things that I actually just eliminate from my life that helps. So, but this isn't. I'm going to say some things that I don't necessarily recommend to everyone. What I do recommend is asking yourself what's in alignment for you, right? There's a lot of like articles and stuff out there like you should do this and you should do that, and it's like, listen, everyone functions in very different ways. So I'll share a little bit about my experience, but um, I I again, like when I work with people, I ask them to tune into their own wisdom, right? Some people getting up early is really great for them. Other people, it's like that's not their rhythm or sleep schedule, and it's just going to throw everything off. Um, so for me, I purposely don't drive, and that is something that is really helpful for me. I know that that's not realistic for everyone, so that's kind of why I preface that. I walk to work, so I live fairly close to my work. It's about a 15-minute walk, um, and that's a routine that's built into my schedule. It doesn't. I don't have to think about it or do anything different to get that walk outside to work and back every day. It's a nice transition time for me. Some fresh air, my body's moving, and I can listen to a podcast or some music, and I try to be mindful about what it is I'm listening to, so like, do I want to feel calm right now, or do I need to feel uplifted? Do I feel like I need a little bit more mental stimulation? So, or sometimes it's just silence. I'm just like, well, I just know. Oh, no, I don't need anything. So something like that is really helpful for me to have that like a little bit of transition time. Um, my cat's just like still meowing. She doesn't like when the attention's not on her. So, actually, that's another thing too. Spending time with my cats is really helpful. They make me laugh and remind me about my aliveness as a human. Yeah. So what else do I do? Okay, so so for a long time I struggled with my sleep. I would always like be kind of falling asleep, say on the bus. I used to take the bus to school or to work. So kind of falling asleep there, or falling asleep in class, falling asleep at meetings. And I think for me, my sleep schedule, like I just require more sleep. And so because I'm able to make my own schedule now, it allows me to get the kind of sleep that works better for me. So that actually means going to sleep later and sleeping in a little bit more, which I used to feel like guilty about. Like that's not the right way that you're supposed to do a sleep schedule. You're supposed to go to bed early and get up early. But that just doesn't work for my rhythm. So honoring that has been really helpful for me. I'm not getting those like moments where I'm just like falling asleep. I'm able to keep energy going throughout the day. So again, like that involves like really being able to listen to yourself, and what works for your own rhythm and routine. Something that I love too is just like taking like a moment. It doesn't have to be like meditation per se, but taking like a moment just to be without like any distractions. At work, sometimes just like laying down on, they have these really like nice fuzzy carpets at work. So it's like laying down and like, kind of being like a kid for a moment, rolling around, doing some stretches. That can be really nice just to, create some space in all of that. I need to do that more though. So like there's certain things where I'm just like, sometimes I'm just like go, 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 and I don't take that time. So that's important. Hi.
I guess absolutely listening to your
Mhm.
be
Yeah.
in that stimulation of like dancing and listening to
Mhm.
upbeat
I
music.
love dancing. Yeah, dancing really helps as a therapeutic tool. Um, and I think, like, in general, something that I like to look at is my overall, like, if I take it like a week at a time and I'm like, how much of this have I spent working or being with friends or being on my own? And I try to balance that out. So if it's like, yeah, it's been a few days since I've seen a friend, like I'll make sure to incorporate that in. Or like whatever, just like to like it may not be the same every day, but just having a better balance between all of those things so that it's not devoting too much time to one thing or the other. um, Food is a really important part of everything too. So um, I've been eating like no animal products for the last like 5 years, which has helped me just have more mindfulness around like how much nutrients I'm really getting in. So like I used to not really think about like how much like getting like vegetables or whatever into a meal. It would just be kind of like, okay, I'll eat whatever I can get. But now every meal I try to make sure it's well rounded. I'm getting more of what I need from that, um, which which has helped a lot as well. So yeah, and journaling is like I think the biggest tool that has helped me um, throughout my life. Having those opportunities to really reflect and be with your own thoughts and feelings and see what's there, um, just to take a pause in the action and reflect and get our own feedback. Like a lot of times we ask other people what they think, and like we want someone else to give us that validation or let us know if we're off track. And other people can do that, but no one knows you as much as you know yourself. And if you can really be honest with yourself, you're going to be the best person that can say like, hey, you know what, like for me it's like if I check in and it's like, I really haven't been checking in with myself very much lately, or I haven't been moving my body as much. All right, like that's something I need to work on. I notice how it feels if I'm not doing it or if I am. So but again, yeah, the journal, I haven't been journaling as much as I need to. So like all this is reminding me that I should listen to my own advice. Yeah.
I can relate. I love to journal, but the thing, sometimes it gets put on the shelf and I don't get to it for a month or two. And then as I'm writing in my journal, I'll think, oh my goodness, like, why haven't I done this? This feels like it always feels so nice and it feels like a good release. And then,
I always have those like apology entries, like, dear journal, sorry I haven't been here for a while.
that's
Yeah.
great. Do you want to share a little bit about some of the stuff that you've got coming up or stuff programs that you're currently running?
Yeah. So I feel like there's going to be some stuff coming up that I don't even know what it is yet fully. I've been feeling really called to do some groups and offerings with other people. And so I'm going to be kind of running things with others in the near future. But that we have to kind of get together and brainstorm about exactly what that's going to look like. So yeah, last year I was doing a lot kind of more groups on my own, and mindfulness groups, mindful painting, these kinds of things. And so it's going to be they're going to be something that's going to grow from those with the energy of others. So that's kind of on the radar for what's going to happen. What I have been really working on lately is the Soulpreneur Illumination program. So it's funny because I was like, oh, that's going to be finished in the summer, and then that's not how that worked out. But and that's something that's important too, is that we may have an idea, a plan in our mind about how things are supposed to go, but that's not necessarily how it's actually supposed to go. So something I've learned a lot over the past couple of years is to be flexible and to allow the universal energies that be to flow the way that they're meant to. If I were to have rushed this program, it wouldn't be as good as it can be. So, soulpreneur illumination is essentially taking everything I've learned from my experience and then flipping it back to help other people. So, it is essentially for people that are either at the beginning of their soulpreneurship, and soulpreneurship being like an entrepreneur that is doing something from the heart. It's not something just to make money. It's something that they're like, this is my purpose, this is what I came here to do. And that can change throughout time too. But they're either kind of like at the beginning of that, where they're like, I know there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know how that's supposed to look. Or people that have been trying to do what it is that they feel called to do, and things just still feel kind of foggy. So it's mostly going to be one-on-one support, moving people through these different stages that I have both kind of created from myself, and I've done some research from others about what can be helpful for this. So helping people get clear on what their purpose is, doing a lot of kind of self-investigation. It has to do with your whole life story, your skill sets, your passions, all of these things. And then bringing that out so that you can be really clear in what it is you're offering to others. And I've included some online support around this. So, and by online, I mean like not me meeting with people online, but online presence. So social media, website, these kinds of things, helping people clearly state like, this is what I do, this is who it's for, this is why I'm doing it. So helping people really get that together, kind of this online presence makeover from an authentic place. So this is all really around like authentic soulpreneurship, so that it's not about trying to, trick anyone into buying what you're offering. It's like really magnetizing the people that need what it is you have to offer. The big reason why I created this program is because for me, something that has been one of the most helpful experiences for my mental health has been stepping onto this soulpreneur path. Like speaking about habits, like every day I get to work with people that are in alignment with what it is that I have to offer. And so I don't feel drained after I do sessions with people, and I have a schedule that I've created that works for me. So like in general, I feel good because I'm not being like, my energy isn't constantly being drained. And so I want to help people be able to do that for themselves, and because the world needs people to be doing what it is that they're meant to be doing. So that's in the works. And I want to say that I know when it's going to be released, but I don't know. It's coming soon though. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I look forward to, I really look forward to seeing that come out. And
me too.
I might participate in that.
Yeah. I'm going to have it created as like either a full program if people want the whole thing, or there'll be the different sections. So there's 6 different sections, so people can kind of be like, I think I need this and this. The other things I think I'm good with. So that way, it's a little bit tailored to that person. Yeah.
Individual needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just checking. I cannot see what time we're at here. But before we kind of wrap up our interview here, do you have any recommendations or suggestions? We've kind of touched on some different things as we've been talking. But for somebody who might work with kids or might be either within like a traditional workplace, or who's venturing out into the idea of working on their own programming for kids, suggestions, advice?
Yeah. No, I think that the world right now really does need people to push the boundaries of um, what has been. Um, if you are someone that feels called to do things a little bit differently, I really do encourage people to find a way to like walk towards that. Um, I know that it can feel scary, like especially if you're working in a place that's like quite rigid. Um, but what I feel is like it's not like for me, I would think about it's not about me really. Like I'm doing this work because of the people that I'm working with. It's for these kids, and um, it's for these individuals that need what it is I'm offering. And so I would always like try to just do things a little bit differently and like see how that goes. And like obviously like I would do a little research to see if this is going to be something that's works or not. But sometimes you just don't know. Like you have to be a little creative. And but I think in order to feel like confident to do things a little bit differently, it does require uh, ourself to be in a decent place. Like if you're not feeling good, then you're just gonna kind of stick to what feels comfortable. um, Something that really helped me was reaching out for support, um, getting some counseling, and finding the right person to talk to. Like sometimes you might meet someone and it's like, man, it doesn't feel like a good fit. Like, okay, don't bother with them then. It's like a first date. It's like you don't need to go on a second date then. Like if you go meet that person, it's like it just doesn't feel right. Like, try again, because eventually you'll find someone that's a good fit that you feel like you can really talk to openly with. And I think that's really important. Um, Making that time to listen to yourself when possible. There's a lot of other voices out there, right? Telling people what to do, what not to do. And the more that I've been able to really listen to my own intuition, it's helped me a lot. And sometimes that's led me, like out of the job I'm in, but it's led me to somewhere else that I'm meant to be. But that takes time. Like I remember always being told that like I didn't have any faith by like an ex-partner of mine. It was like, you have no faith. And I was like, yeah, no, I didn't. Like I really didn't trust myself or this existence, I guess you could say. Um, but I think if you can commit to developing a more trusting relationship with yourself, which means you have to start listening to yourself, over time that can get better. And I've come to realize that there is a deep wisdom in all of us. It's just that we've been taught not to listen to it. So, I mean, that's quite big and existential. So it's hard to simplify that, like, because I think like a lot of times when we think of like advice, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like make sure you're getting good rest and meditating and doing all these things. But it's like it's bigger than that. Like we're here as a human in this lifetime, and as far as I know, we only get to live it once. And like I think it's worth it to take meaningful risks that are in alignment with your views and your beliefs. Like that's how we make a difference in the world, right? By like continuing to like from our heart, right? Not from a place of like F you, like anger, like like you're allowed to feel that. You're allowed to feel frustrated, and it's like just take that time to like process that if you can, or with someone else's help, so that you can come back and speak up for what it is that you really believe in and the changes that need to happen. Because like especially while we're in these organizations, like they're either going to stay the same way if we say nothing, or maybe changes can start to happen if we push back a little bit, or even just creativity, like I said before, is a beautiful act of rebellion in a way. It doesn't have to be like rah rah rah.
Something that
Yeah.
I've taken on in my own work, because I still work in like a traditional workplace
Yeah.
right now, is the act of just modeling,
Hmm.
and just, not always vocalizing what I'm seeing that
Hmm.
maybe isn't working
Yeah.
like to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
Just modeling an alternative
Exactly.
approach and showing
Yeah.
people what things could look like if you do them a little bit different, right?
Yeah, yeah, I love that. See, that gives me truth bumps. Yeah, yeah, because yeah, we often think that the best way to make change is through like standing up against the system or whatever. Like, and there's a place for that. But while you're within the system, it's really hard to make change that happen that way, right? So yeah, being the person, like being the change that you want to see and showing how it can work, and how, oh, look, there's a positive result from this, right? Like that can really start to shift. There might be some resistance around it. And that's where I feel like talking to someone and getting the support can really be helpful to help keep you in alignment with where, you're meant to be. Because just because there's resistance, it doesn't mean that you're wrong.
That's right.
It just means that it's new and scary and, can trigger lots of different things for people, so um I think we get a lot. I think burnout happens when we just kind of say, forget it. Like, I'll just not say anything or do anything. And that's not a really juicy way to live life. We just
Very
give
exciting.
up. Yeah. Yeah.
Me
But I
too.
get it. Yeah. So no shame on people that feel that way. I know how that feels. Yeah.
Absolutely relatable for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to add as we wrap up here?
I don't know. It's funny. I'm looking at you on video here, and I was like, oh, that painting behind you is a painting that I did.
Yes.
So, but maybe I'll just speak about that. What does that mean to me? So it's funny because I used to, so I'm an artist as well. But one of the things that I do, and when I was in high school, there was, again, like the teachers would kind of say like, okay, draw this thing. Like you would start by like, um, replicating something that you see. So I had these drawings of like, say, like a cell phone. It looked just like a cell phone. This like flip phone I had. I have a picture of it where the flip phone I had in high school. It's like identical. And that was good. Like it looked good, but it wasn't exciting to me to do that kind of art. And although I was good at replicating, yeah, it wasn't exciting. And so I actually eventually started getting into this kind of abstract art, which was quite different than what I was doing before. But it like allowed some like freedom to be something a little bit different, outside of the box. Like no one could say like that's not supposed to look that way because it was what I wanted it to be. And I think that really symbolized something important to me in my life, which was like I want to be able to create things that are my own creation, and maybe it's so different from what anyone else is doing that no one can say you're not supposed to do it that way, because it's like, well, I made it up, so I'm going to do it my way. And the more that we as adults can step into that, like being like, I'm going to do things my way creatively, and like, as long as it comes from a place of like love and kindness, it that in itself is modeling something to these young people that we're working with, right? Like we want kids to feel like they can be their own creative version of themselves, that it's safe for them to be, who they are, as long as they're not harming anyone, and they're being safe. Like that aside, like, the world needs people to be who they are. And so yeah, as childcare providers, that the way that we do our work can trickle down and have an impact on these young people, right? Like they pick up on that, like, oh, this is something new and different. Like, it doesn't even have to necessarily totally make sense. And I think we've gone too far sometimes with all the rules, and it has to be like scientifically proven and all that. And like, there's a place for that. I think that that's important, but there's also value in the abstract, in the soulful living, that I think that if we can like invite that into our lives and help invite that into children's lives, we're going to have a more balanced world experience. So yeah, there, I came up with something from the art I saw.
That was amazing. I absolutely agree. No,
Cool.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been lovely. Yeah.
Um, I will put a link on our website and in our social media to Chauntell's uh, projects and the amazing work that she's doing. So you do a lot of your work out of Hamilton, but you also do a lot of online work as well.
Yeah. So I work at a place called the Hamilton Center for Personal Development, on York Street, York Boulevard, and Lock. And then I do some online stuff as well, and it's always changing. I know. Yeah, it's always evolving. So yeah, thank you, and thank you for doing the work that you do. I love seeing people, step out of that comfort zone, and the world needs that right now. So it's important. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. All right.